Okay, so we're on number 2. Did we pick the angle or do anything yet? Okay, so we probably circled this. Did we put a note that we're finding an angle? Okay, so we are finding an angle. So what does that mean with our calculator? What do we have to hit? What? Yeah, inverse or second. So we're going to be using the second button for this one because we're going to be looking for an angle. Okay, after we circled this, did we label all of our sides? Who is going to be hypotenuse? The 50. Who is this guy over here then? That's opposite. And down here is adjacent. Okay, so after we label our sides, what do we do next? How many do we need? We only need 2 parts, right? So we need to find who has good information. So who do we like? Huh? Opposite's gotta go, she says. Do you guys agree? Opposite has nothing to offer. So this one is, so we're going to be using the hypotenuse and the adjacent. Sorry about that. Writing ADJ. So we're using hypotenuse and adjacent. Now remember, you have your little cheat code at the bottom of your thing. Your SOHCAHTOA at the bottom of your foldable. So who are we going to use if we have hypotenuse and adjacent? Cosine. So winner, chicken dinner, right? Okay, so we will be using cosine. Okay, cosine. So let's look at number 1. Number 1, think about number 1, how we set it up. Remember how we put first whatever function we chose, sine, cosine, or tangent. What do we put right after it? Look at number 1. What do we put right after it? The angle, right? And then we put equals the fraction, right? So we have to set this up exactly the same. So we're going to start with our trig ratio we're using, which happens to be cosine, correct? Next comes our angle measure. So what is our angle measure? That's a theta, remember? It's a 0 with a line through it, which is just a variable. It'd be kind of silly to be 0 because it can't be 0 degrees, you know. Equals. And now we put our cosine, which is adjacent over hypotenuse. So who is adjacent? 27 over hypotenuse, 50. Okay? Now these are actually easy. Remember, look at number 1. Do you remember how we had to solve a big long algebra problem? This one is simple because this one you could do right in your calculator. So when we're looking for angle measures, it's easier than looking for sides. So go ahead and grab your calculator. Okay, so we are going to be doing, you guys said the second button, right? Okay, so you're going to hit second. And then what ratio? Cosine. So second, then cosine. Does your little -1 pop up? Okay, so all the time when you're looking for an angle, the little -1 should be there. Now here's the deal. You have parentheses. All you got to do is put this right in there. So put 27. You could use the divided by 50. So hit 27 divided by 50. And then equals, what do you got? 57 point something? Now this is our answer. And it says to round to the 100th place. So we can, we're going to write approximately 57 point what? 32. We got to shove that 1 up because of the 6 after him, right? And this is an angle measure, so what should be on this? Some degrees, right? You should check and see if this makes sense. Could we have this triangle, which is a right triangle, could this angle be 57.32 degrees? Sure. If you have a number like 300, that does not make sense for an angle measure, right? So that means you made mistakes. So, but having 57 and 90, that one could be like around less than 30, and you're safe to have 180 inside. So it works out, makes sense. Okay, since this is our notes and we're going to do extra, let's write down our keystrokes here so we remember what buttons we pushed when we got this. Because if we just have an answer, we might be like, I don't remember what I pushed. So what was the first thing we pushed to get this? Second. You might want to put it in a different color or something. Sometimes when you got everything in one color pencil, everything looks the same. After we hit second, what did we push? Cosine. And then in the parentheses, we put 27 divided by 50. And then we hit equals. So those were our keystrokes if we have to do it again, so we remember what buttons we pushed. And that is all we had to do for number 2. Easy. Okay, let's do number 3. Can I scroll? Got everything? Remember, color code your stuff so you can see it. All right, here we go. So we have a right triangle, ABC. Good, because remember, we can't use any of this if we don't have right triangles. Right triangle ABC is shown. What is tangent of C? Okay, let's look at the picture. Are we missing any? No. Are they asking for a side or an angle in this question? They aren't. They're just asking what tangent of C is. Now, tangent of C is just going to be the fraction. That's it. So they're not actually asking for a side length because you already have them all. And they're not asking for an angle. So you're not doing that. You're just basically setting up the problem. Okay? So which angle do you think I'm going to circle? Look, read it again. C. You're going to do C. So circle C and label your pieces. So who's your hypotenuse? 17. So you put, who's my opposite? 8. And 15 is my adjacent. Okay, so we have them labeled. Now it tells me I want to do tangent of C, right? So we write tan, right? We don't have an angle measure, so I'm just going to keep calling him C because we don't have any information here, right? Tangent of C is equal to, who do I need? Opposite over, so 8 over 15. Do you guys agree? 8 over 15. And you actually stop there. Because let's go back to what it said. It's not asking us to calculate the angle measure yet. It's not asking anything. It just says, what is tangent C? Tangent C is right here. So if they ask you what tangent of C is, you will literally just type 8 over 15. And you are done. Okay? Don't be extra and do more stuff than they ask for. Well, it won't matter because if it's graded on the OST, which they've put this on the OST before, and guess what? People put it in their calculator and put the wrong answer because they go too far, and then it's going to mark you wrong. They don't care if you know extra. They just want you to answer the question, especially if it's computer graded, right? Yeah. Okay, so that's all we need for that part. Now let's go down to the part B of this. So part B says, what is the measure of angle C? So if we want the measure of an angle, what's that telling you you're going to have to do? What do you have to push for angle? Seconds. So I'm going to put a second right by here. Every time I see something about finding an angle, I'm going to put a little note. So I don't push wrong buttons. Okay, so I will be hitting the second button. And I have what I have to put in up here, right? So I'm just going to have to hit second and then tan, right? So let's get that in our calculator. Second tan. So it should have tan -1 in. Johnny? Tan -1. Okay, what do I put in those parentheses? 8 divided by 15. Okay, 8 divided by 15. What do you got? 28.07 approximately. And this is the angle measure. So what do I need on here? Put little degrees on there, right? And I'm going to put my keystroke so I remember. Second tan, and then you had the parentheses. We put in 8 over 15, right? Equals. All right, good. Leave the door open. Thank you. All right, good. So you're saying that this angle up here is about 28 degrees, which is an appropriate answer for an angle measure inside a triangle, right? Right. Okay, the next one. So do me a favor and go to the front cover of your foldable, because there was something at the bottom that we ignored. Remember I said we'll come back to that when we need it? Well, we're about to need it. Okay, does everyone see this at the bottom? Okay, so let's just look at this picture up here. Look at my picture. You see this? I don't see all your eyeballs. So this is a right triangle, correct? If you have a right triangle, then you know this is 90, right? What do you know is the total inside? 180. Okay? So what does that mean is true about these two guys? They have to add up to 90, don't they? Otherwise, if this is 90 and it has to be 180 side, these two have to add up to 90. So these two right here have to add to 90 degrees. And what is the fancy word that means two angles that add up to be 90 degrees? Not supplementary, because supplementary is similar. What is it? Complementary. Complementary. Okay. So when people talk about the two complementary angles of a triangle, a right triangle, they're talking about the other angles, not this guy, right? The other angles. Okay? So every time you have a triangle, that's a right triangle. You have the right angle, and then you have the other two guys that are your complementary angles, right? Now, these guys have a special relationship. Here is the special relationship that they have. This is going to be true all the time about those two other angles. And they don't have to be called A and B. They could be called F and G. You don't even know, right? But the sine of one of them is equal to the cosine of the other one. So you see how this switches? Sine and cosine, switchy, switchy. A and B, switchy, switchy. Got it? What if I wrote it a different way? What if I wrote sine of B is equal to what? What? Cosine of A, right? These two things are both true. Yes? And it's literally just like a little fact that if you memorize, and I think every OST I've ever seen has one of these questions on it. And it's just, if you memorize this, it's a quick answer. Boom, got it right. Worth 1 point. And then they'll have the next question, which is finding the perimeter using distance formula of a four-sided figure that takes you 8 minutes to do, and that's also worth 1 point. So memorizing this might be a good idea because that's an easy, quick point you can get. Okay? All right, so let's go. Did you jot that down so you know? Let's go to question number 4. And this question number 4 is a released question from the OST. So we included exact wording. So go ahead and read that and pick your answer choice for this guy. A lot of words, right? A lot of words. But really all you got to look at, which is equivalent to sine of B? Which one of these options is equivalent to sine of B? Cosine of A. Remember, you're going to switch the sine and the cosine. Switch the A and the B. Okay? Easy points. But only easy if you know that little fact. And remember, we don't ever use the right angle. So anything that said something about C, you would just be like, not it, not it. Because they're not, remember, we're not using the right angle for anything. So even if you forgot, and it doesn't make sense that sine of B and sine of A would be exactly the same because, it's said that they're not equal to each other. All right, let's look at the second part of that. Okay, here's the second part of this. So it says, if sine A, don't be on your phones, if sine A equals 0.5, what is the measure of angle B? So let's look at this picture. What do we know in this picture? We do know this is 90, right? That's all we know by looking at the picture. We do know A and B have to add up to be 90, right? Okay, so that means if you knew A, you could find B, right? Or if you knew B, you could find A. Fair? Okay, so the only thing they want us to find B, but the only thing they give us is information about A. So let's find A and put it in there, and then we can get B. Okay? So this is the information we're using right here. Sine of A equals 0.5. Do you know what A is? Do you know what this is? No? So we are looking for an angle, right? We need this angle. If we need an angle, what button are we pushing? Second. So put a second by that. So we are going to be using the second button. Now, I boxed up the only information we have, right? What do you think I'm going to put in my calculator? Second. Okay. Obviously second, right? Second. What do you think next? Sine. Second, sine. And then just put that in. 0.5. It's super easy. Remember, like 0.5 is the same as like 1/2. It's just the same as a fraction, right? What do you got? 30. So I'm going to write down my keystrokes. Second, sine, and then we're going to put 0.5, and that equaled 30. 30 is our angle measure for A, right? So let's put that in our picture. So that means this is 30, which is not what we're asking for. What are we asking for? So what is the measure of angle B then? Why does it have to be 60? Because it's got to add up to be 180 inside here, right? So I think I have 90 and a 30. 60 is the only number that works. Yeah? Next. Okay, what's this say? What do we want to find? Perimeter. What's perimeter? What? That's adding up all the sides? All right, so you got to add up all the sides. Do we have all the sides? How many sides do you have? We only have one. How many are there that we need? So we need 2. We need 3 altogether, right? So there are 3 sides on a triangle. Now here's the deal. Do you care about angle measures when you do perimeter? Are we looking for angles? No, we don't care about angles, right? So we will not be using the second button. We're just using the regular button. Yeah? Okay, here's the deal. We have to find 2 different sides, right? That means we have to do 2 math problems. We're going to do one math problem to find one of the sides, then another one to find another side, and then we can add all those numbers up and get our perimeter. Okay? So we got to do piece by piece. So we're basically, that's why there's so much space on the foldable, because we both basically have to do like 2 number 1s right here to get all our numbers. Okay? So we need to decide which side we want to try to do first. I would take your paper and cut it in half so that way we can do 2 different problems down here. Okay, so which side do you want to find first? This side or this side? Huh? BC? Okay, so what do you want to call him? Pick a variable. The fake one? You want to do the theta? No, let's think of another weird one. No, because someone's going to look at our notes and be like, that, you're so weird. Let's do Q. That's weird. And not as weird as theta. Okay, so we're going to find Q first. So I'm going to put a little note here to find Q. I'll do this one in purple. And then when we do the other side, I'll pick a different color so it's not too much of a mess. Okay, so what are the steps I have to go through? What? Which angle are we circling? C. Okay, circle that guy. Okay, label your pieces. Where's your paper? Okay, for realsies. You gotta start doing school. Go to your understand what you're doing. Remember, if you only come to half of class and only have your stuff half the time, you're probably going to end up with half the grade. Which means the other half of the grade you're going to have to be sitting here next year. And the fact is, it's not your book bag is no one's fault except your own. Okay, find Q. So you labeled this guy opposite, right? And you labeled this guy hypotenuse. And you labeled this guy adjacent. Okay. So remember, we got to pick who we're using. So which ones are we boxing up and using, and who's going away? This is just like number 1. Who am I crossing out? This guy I'm not using this time, right? This I'm using. That's information. And this I'm looking for, so I need to find Q, right? Can't cancel Q out because I'm using him. Okay, so that means I'm doing adjacent and hypotenuse. Remember, we're doing these exact same steps every single time. So circle your angle, label your parts, pick who you're using, write them down, then decide which one matches. Who can we do for adjacent and hypotenuse? Cosine. Good? Everyone's using cosine. You have a cheat sheet at the bottom of your paper. So cosine is the winner. Now we set them up exactly the same, right? We put the cosine, then we put the angle equals the fraction. Go ahead, write your equation down. Write down what we're going to write next. Okay, what did you write first? Cosine. Then what? 35. Then what? Equals. Then what? Adjacent over hypotenuse, which is 12 over Q. Is that how you set them up? Okay, now we got to do some algebra from here, right? Are we looking for angle measures? No. So are we using the second button? No. Okay, so let's do some algebra. So go one side at a time. Okay, what do I got over here? Cosine 35. Give me your decimal. Remember, go out to 4 digits. I don't know what cosine 35 is. What do we got? I know it's probably a mess. (0.8191). You can round it to 2. I'll put a 2. Doesn't matter. Remember, when we go 4 digits out, it's okay if you round it or cut it off. Either one will be acceptable. And then we got 12 over Q. All right, you got to do algebra now. What do we need to do here? Put him over 1 and cross multiply? Okay, go ahead. Put him over 1 and cross multiply. Okay. What do I have on one side? 12. 1 times 12 is 12. What do I have on the other side? 0.8192 cubed. And then how do I get Q all by himself? Divide both sides by that mess of numbers, right? So divide by 0.8192 on this side and divide by 0.8192 on the other side. And we will get Q to equal something. Don't stare at me waiting for me to write the answer up there. Type it in your calculator. 12 divided by 0.8192. What do you got? 14.649. I'm going to just do 14.65. Is that cool? 14.65. What was that anyways? That was that Q side, right? So let's go back up to our picture. You got all this? I'm scrolling back up. 14.65. That this side is 14.65. So now I have two sides of my triangle. I've got the 12 on the bottom and the 14.65 there. I need to find this guy over here. Okie dokie? Okay. What? Isn't like R? Oh, R. Okay. I'm gonna pick I'm gonna name him R. Okay, so we gotta find R. Remember, we need all three sides in order to add them up to get perimeter. Okay, so we're calling him R. Cool? We need to decide which pieces we're gonna use this time. I have a new color. Because last time I boxed these guys up in green, but I have to include this guy this time. Last time we left him out, but I need him because I'm trying to find him. And now I need one of the other ones. Do you want, it looks like we have both, right? Which one's going to be easier to work with? The adjacent or the decimal up there? I would pick, now you can use either. I'm going to pick this one because I like simpler. Okay, so I'm going to be using what? Opposite and adjacent. That means I'll be using what? Tangent. Tangent is the winner. Okay, go ahead and set up your equation for tangent. Okay, so you wrote 10. And then what? 35 equals opposite, which is what? R over 12. Okay, now I gotta solve him. So get this in your calculator, get your decimal, crisscross multiply. This one's on you. Did you guys use the second button when you did tangent 35, or just regular button? Regular button, right? Okay, got it? So you put tangent of 35 in, and what'd you get? 0.7 what? 7002 or something like that? Okay. And then you put that over 1, correct? And you cross multiply. Yeah. so what'd you get R to equal when you're done? R equals what? 4.8.4 what? O2? Something like that? Did everybody get something like that? Okay, so that was our side over here. I'm just going to write 8.4. Cool with that? 8.4. So now we do have all three sides of our, we got the 12, we got the 14.65, and we've got the 8.4, correct? So we can now find the perimeter by adding up all the sides. So we have an 8.4 plus a 14.65 plus a 12. And some of these are rounded, so I'm going to put approximately, what do you got? Approximately 35.1. Do we have our unit of measure on this? No, so we're just going to say units. And we are tucking this into page 50.